Veganthused. Get Veganthused. Veganthused. Get Veganthused. Vegan food can taste fantastic. G'day, I'm MC Pony and I'm Veganthused. Today I'm particularly excited to be welcoming Leigh to the program. You may know her first cookbook, Vegan Indulgence. You may already be following her on Twitter, and if you're a local here in Sydney, you might have attended her vegan cooking classes at the Sydney Community College. Welcome, Leigh, to Veganthused.
I'm very happy to be here.
So today you're going to be sharing a recipe for chocolate melting moments, which are on the cover of Vegan Indulgence. And you and I had a melting moments of sorts at the 2009 Cruelty Free Festival, didn't we?
Yes, indeed. Yes, I was demonstrating a custard and using a hot plate, and I melted a table, and I'm never, ever, ever doing that again.
But luckily we have photographic evidence to prove it happened at one time. Well, as much as I love cooking, Leigh is an absolute whiz in the kitchen, so I'm going to leave her to it and just come back for the eating part. Nom, nom, nom.
So I'm going to be making melting moments, which are an incredibly simple recipe. The thing I enjoy about the sorts of recipes I've been doing, especially in my original book, Vegan Indulgence, was looking at the idea that you have got ingredients that your grandma could just go down to the supermarket and get, because it's really important to not have that feeling that being vegan is weird. So we're going to start off with Nuttalex, which is the default vegan margarine of choice in Australia, and we're essentially making shortbread biscuits, which means that what you're looking at is a high volume of fat to flour. So we're looking at 3/4 of a cup. So, well, you can also use something like coconut oil for these sorts of recipes, because it has got the high sort of fat value that you're looking for, and it also retains form. It remains solid at room temperature, which is what you're looking for when you're looking for a fat to cook with in baking. All right, so we've got our Nuttalex, and we're actually going to put in some icing sugar at this point. So we're going with 1/2 cup of icing sugar. So if you're like me and your icing sugar tends to get horribly lumpy, you're going to actually have to put it through a sifter. Okay, so now that you've sifted your icing sugar into the fat, this is the fun bit. Now you can actually use a handheld blender should you feel the desire, but I like using a spatula. It allows me to be violent. So basically the idea is that you're going to beat these two together, so the Nuttalex and the icing sugar, until it's lovely and fluffy. So the next things that we're going to add to this are going to be the corn flour and the cocoa. And the cocoa is intrinsic to this experience, obviously, what with them being chocolate. So we've got 1/2 cup of corn flour, and we're also going to have 1/3 of a cup of cocoa. The cocoa could be sifted, but frankly, why bother? So we're going to combine the icing sugar mixture, the corn flour and the cocoa together, and as you can see, it's drifting in the air beautifully. Lovely refined cocoa. We just want to get that mixed together until it is again a nice even consistency with a disturbing noise, but a nice even consistency. So the last ingredient for the dough is actually 1.5 cups of flour. So that's plain flour. Don't use self-raising. That's not very good with shortbread. Kind of defeats the purpose. These are generally my response when the question is asked, oh my God, it must be so boring being vegan. What can you eat? No sugar, no chocolate. I mean, really, what planet are these people coming from? So this is definitely my riposte to that standard question, which is, here, have a biscuit. So basically we're just trying to get this mixture together so that it's a nice dry dough. I'm actually going to stick my hands in to knead it into a dough. But now, because it's a high fat value, you don't actually want to move it around too much with your hands, because your hands obviously contain heat. So you don't want to melt it too much. Okay, so now we're actually going to form these into biscuits. So get your baking tray or your cookie tray and some baking paper, which I always make a little bit too long, but I'm a bit keen, so that's okay. And the idea about these is that It should make about 30 biscuits, and because we're sandwiching them together, so you can be really neat about it and use a knife, or you could be me and make it into Play-Doh. So we're looking for, oh, it's not sticking together as much as I need, so just do that for a bit, it'll be fine. So we'll make it into a little circle, not a circle, ball, spheroid. Make it into a spheroid, and it's a teeny tiny chocolate planet. So they don't spread hugely, though they will a little bit as the fat heats up. So do leave a couple of centimetres space between them, because you are actually going to squish them with a fork. So the biscuits have been pressed with a fork and decorated, and they're now ready to be put into the oven. So the oven should have been preheated to about 180 degrees Celsius. And they cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. These are usually about 15 minutes. Pretty much they'll still be quite soft, but you should be able to lift them off the paper without them squishing, is pretty much what you're looking for at the end of baking. The icing is essentially exactly the same as the biscuit, just without the corn flour or flour. It is the same thing, but slightly different proportions. So, as always, with something like icing, we start with the base fat, which again is Nuttall-X. So it is 1/3 cup of Nuttall-X this time, 3/4 cup of icing sugar, and the last ingredient, obviously, what with it being chocolate icing, though you could just make it. There are fun things that you can do with this. You could actually make it a mocha biscuit by putting instant coffee in instead of chocolate, or you could put a tiny splash of vanilla essence in here and have it as a vanilla icing. It's kind of well, it's an Oreo. You know, I mean, Oreos are vegan anyway, but it's an Oreo that you actually recognise the ingredients that went into it. And then we finally have a nicely packed 1/4 cup of cocoa. Then you beat all of these ingredients together, or smush them together, as the technical term that I prefer to use, until it's a lovely, smooth, thick icing. Okay, so we have a lovely, thick, luscious chocolate icing ready to sandwich the biscuits together. Now, I'm a little bit compulsive, and I would advocate compulsion with this as well, so they're as pretty as possible. As you can see, there's somewhat of a variance in the size of the biscuits. So why don't you spend a little bit of time stacking them up into the same size. I could have done this earlier, but I wanted to demonstrate possibly how compulsive I am, and also the fact that it is a good idea to make sure that you have the same shape and the same size. And also, oh look, it's shortbread. It'll fall to bit really easily. Okay, so now that we've got them all stacked up and matched up nicely, and we've got a fabulous little plate to display them upon, let's start mushing them together. Now there's a fair amount of icing here, so, you know, go to town. It's like plaster. Think of it as a bricklaying job, really. It's something that you could possibly take with you into the world. And yes, and I'm going to invite MC Pony back in to have some sugary goodness, because there's nothing quite so sugary as a chocolate melting moment, quite frankly. And so here we have, lovingly sandwiched together, a big stack of chocolate melting moments. And I'm going to ask MC Pony to come and join me and indulge in a little bit of sugar. Okay, would you like a particular choice as we go around? Or
Which is the biggest?
Which is the biggest one? I think the biggest one is this one.
Because I've been basically avoiding sugar for about a year, and this is going to really
It's only a little bit of sugar. It's
only a little.
It's just a hint.
No,
just
it's only the biggest little bit of sugar.
Yes, well, you know. It's really crappy, huh? You're going to have another one just to make sure it's okay. Okay, excellent. So, this was Veganthused. I'm Veganthused, and I hope that you get a chance to try the chocolate melting moments very soon.
Vegan-thusiastic. Get vegan-thusiastic. Vegan-thusiastic. Get vegan-thusiastic. Vegan food can taste fantastic.